Hello, and a very warm welcome indeed to this afternoon's iOB Business webinar. My name is Ben, and I'm the resident business coach here at iOB Business. It's a pleasure to welcome you on here. So for those of you that are joining us again, it's a pleasure to see you again. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to join us. For those of you whose first time it is on one of these webinars, I thought it'd be helpful to run you through a little bit about how they work, just so that we get kicked off smoothly, and hopefully you get an immense amount of value out of today's session as well. Okay, so the first thing to note is that throughout today's session, as always, I'm going to go through three topics. Now, in between each of the three topics, you'll be given a little moment to jot down any notes and indeed fire away with any questions that you have. Now, if you would like to ask a question, you can do so in the gray Q&A box at the bottom of your screen there, okay? What I'll do is I'll grab them for you, I'll grab the questions for you at the end during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar, okay? So please don't worry if you feel like we're going a little bit too fast or that you're getting left behind. You'll have absolutely plenty of time to jot down any notes and indeed fire away with any of those questions that you may have. Okay, now, right before I get us set up and get the presentation up on screen, if you do have any issues with today, with the audio, with the visual, anything like that, pop a note in the chat box for us and we'll do our best to get to that for you. Okay, we want everybody to have a great experience. So it is a pleasure to see so many new faces on. Thank you so much for taking the time. Okay, now, getting set up for today's session, let us bring the presentation up on screen. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm going to switch off my video camera. Okay, we're all good. All systems are looking good. Okay, now the final part, if I can just ask a favor of you before we get on to today's conversation, just let me know in the chat box, please. Can you hear my voice okay? And can you see the presentation on screen okay? You shouldn't be able to see my face. That's been taken off. So if you can just let me know, you can see the presentation up on screen, debunking startup myths, and you can hear my voice over the audio okay, and then we will get kicked off. I just need a little confirmation and we are good to go. Awesome. All right, cool. Looks like we are good to go. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Like I said, once again, any issues, let us know. We'll do our best. Okay. So debunking startup myths, a really cool topic, something I'm mega excited to talk to you about. Okay. So your guy speaking today is me. My name is Ben, and I am the professional business coach. I specialize in working with small businesses to help them achieve stability and growth. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. It's something I very much enjoy. And you can probably tell I'm pretty excited to be on here with you today to get us started and get us talking about this kind of thing. Okay, so debunking startup myths is such a cool one. It's something that we put together to show you really the power that this can have. Okay, there's so many myths, so many things that just aren't necessarily true that we would love to cover. Okay, so number one, first myth, to launch a startup, you need to be a complete expert in the field. We're going to talk about this, and I know that this is something that holds people back. Number two, startups need obscene amounts of money. It's not true. It doesn't have to apply to you. And number three, startups drain all of a person's time. Okay, so again, I want to talk to you about that. Okay, now getting us set up with topic number one today, to launch a startup, you need to be a complete expert in the field. Okay, so once again, right before we get kicked off, please remember you're more than welcome to ask any questions. There's a great Q&A box at the bottom of the screen there. And we're going to take a brief pause after topic number one and two and three to give you a chance to jot down any notes as well. All right, so to launch a startup, you need to be a complete expert in the field, or do you? Okay, so education is important, experience is gained. This is something that is absolutely crucial that we understand now, because education is very, very important in many different walks of life, personal and business. Okay, now experience teaches us different things in different ways. Usually through experience, we do something one way and it doesn't work, so we know not to do that again. Okay, now experience, as I'm sure you well know, whether it be in personal life, whether it be in business life, teaches us so much. Okay, education is important, experience is gained. Now, when you're first starting out these businesses, or whatever startup it is, you may not find yourself being an in-depth, complete and total expert. You may not find yourself having 10, 20, 30 years of experience. Okay, what I'll tell you now is that if you don't get started, you will never gain any experience to teach yourself and learn from. And probably the biggest thing from this is that you can't expect yourself to be perfect. And you have to somewhat embrace failure. Don't do it on purpose, but also don't be scared of it. Okay. Education is very, very important. It's what helps us decide what it is that we want to do. It's what helps teach us the theories, the ideologies of what it is that we're trying to do. Okay. So say we learn paid ads, we learn website development, but your experience in which website development builder to use, your experience in which type of websites work best. You might have the education on how to build a website, but the experience will pull you there. Now, real question, can you start building websites without experience, but you do have the education? Yes, absolutely you can. And this is what I want you to begin to understand, is that you can't just snap your fingers and automatically have 10 years of experience. You have to start somewhere, okay? Your support circle is crucial during the startup phase, okay? Now we have to leave ourselves in this constant thought process of, yes, absolutely, I want to accept help. Yes, absolutely, there are things that I could change, things that I could do differently. Open-mindedness is incredibly important, especially when you're in the early stages. We need to be willing to listen to advice from the outside. We need to be willing to learn and educate ourselves with things that are new, okay? Because your support circle are some people that are going to massively, massively help you. Now, can come from people that you don't expect. It can come from areas that you don't expect. We should never disregard anyone or anything, because very, very, very likely, I suppose, if you want to put it that way, that almost anyone will have some nugget of wisdom, some nugget of value to give to you. Now, you choose what you keep and what you let go of. That's totally up to you, okay? But your support circle, they are crucial in the startup phase, because you can lean on them for advice, you can lean on them for education, guidance. They can help you band together. They can pick you up when you're down. They can pull you down when you're too high up if you need that as well. Okay, so your support circle is crucial during the startup phase. And it's something that really, really helps many entrepreneurs, many early startup people, many early startup businesses get going. Okay, many people, when they hit some level of success, whichever, however they personally define that, they always end up looking back and saying, hey, I couldn't have done it without XYZ people. Okay, so don't forget that you have a support circle, that you have people that you can lean on, that you can rely on. Now, many startup founders aren't experts, but they do commit to continual education. Okay, now this is a huge thing, that you'll find that in many startups, that person doesn't know everything there is to know about the niche or industry or sort of field, but they do know enough. They know what they know because they have studied, they have worked hard, they have put together, they've spoke to the relevant people, and they've made sure that they understand what they're getting themselves into before they do it. Okay, now that phrase "getting themselves into" is used an awful lot of a negative connotation, and I want to ditch that. Okay, just because you're getting yourself into something doesn't mean it can't be the best thing that you ever did. All right, now what do they do once they hit this level? What do they do once they've taken that step? Okay, they commit to continual education. They make sure that they have an open mind, a willingness to learn. They pick up a book or two, they do research online, they make sure that they are being the best possible version of themselves that they can be to run that startup in the most effective possible way that they can. You'll find that this is the single biggest skill for most people over and above anything else. It's work ethic, it's a continual commitment to education, and a continual commitment to having an open mind. Okay. Now, your access to resources and a strong network will greatly assist you in the early stages. Okay, resources such as educational material, video content, training exercises, assistance, templates, okay, things that can really help you develop your idea of whatever your startup is. In the digital agency field, for example, you may have resources on marketing, you'll have resources on sales, you'll have resources and templates on building certain things, okay, which make your life an awful lot easier. So your access to these resources and a strong network on top of that, people to talk to, people to bounce off, people to learn from, people to partner with, who can lift you up, who can help you grow, okay? Very, very, very important. So remember this, with a startup, you need resources, you need the network. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this up on screen for you here. We're at the end of topic number 1. So I'm going to give you just a moment. Please do go ahead and jot down any questions that you may have. I'll be happy to answer them. I'm going to give you a moment also to jot down some notes, and I'll be right back with you. All right, perfect. So let's get us on to topic number 2. Startups need obscene amounts of money. This is one that I just want to break with you immediately, okay? This myth, this idea that somehow, no, we can't start a business unless we have tons and tons and tons of disposable cash. Doesn't work like that. There'd be a lot less businesses, I'm sure, in the world if that were true, okay? So whilst funds are necessary, most of the time funding a startup can be made affordable, okay? Now, throughout topic number 2 of today, we're going to talk about a few different ways in which a startup can be made more affordable. But the place that I would like your mind to be at is that whilst funds are necessary, yes, absolutely. Okay. You cannot do it with zero or negative money. Okay. You need something, as you do in day-to-day living, as you do when you want to do something new. Okay. You wouldn't expect to be able to buy a car and not pay anything for it. Okay. Funds are necessary in terms of, you might want to get yourself set up with a website, but it doesn't have to be expensive. You might want to get yourself, registered as a company. Again, doesn't have to be expensive. You might want some branding done, but do you need to pay $5,000 for a designer? No, you can do it yourself. All right. So there are things and ways in which you can really massively reduce these costs. But for some reason, it's believed that unless you have obscene, amounts of money, let's say tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, it's just not possible. There's many ways that you can reduce this. You don't necessarily need all of this money. Okay. Now, of course, this is dependent on what it is that you want to do, but for the most part, okay, if you're looking at doing a startup, something like a digital agency or similar, you can very much keep your costs low. Okay. Especially in the offset. All right. You just got to be intelligent. You got to think, how can I save this money, or could I put that money towards something better? For example, spending £5,000 on a logo is not a good start. Okay. That logo is very unlikely to bring you £5,000 worth of revenue back. If you have £5,000, spend it on other stuff. Okay. So whilst funds are necessary, most of the time funding a startup can be made affordable. Okay. Now, here's a cool tip for you. Calculate your cost ahead of time and be financially responsible. Okay. So if you actually sat down, the first thing I would ask you to do, if you're looking at building a startup, okay, in the spirit of debunking this myth that startups need obscene amounts of money, I would ask you to sit down, calculate your costs ahead of your startup. Okay. Now, I'm not saying by any measure that diligence isn't great here. Diligence is perfect. You want to know exactly where you can, how much these things are going to cost. But often you'll find this probably to be reassuring. Okay. So the first thing I would ask you to do is write down your startup costs. Okay. You've got your company set up if you choose a company, or whatever residency you're in, whatever country you're in, whatever's relevant to you. You've got that set up. You've got the business set up. Okay. Then you've got making sure that things like your invoices are taken care of and done. Then you've got your insurances and things like that. And then you've got other bits and pieces like your website development, a bit of your branding. Okay. Then the development of the services that you're going to offer, and a little bit of marketing. Okay. So there are lots of moving pieces. Now, that is not everything you need to start a business. Okay. But that's just an example of different things that you may need. All right. So put them together, put them into a spreadsheet or, a paper list or whatever you want to do. Calculate your cost ahead of time. Okay. Now, the second thing I want you to do after you have this is go back and review how much you think each item is going to cost you. Like I said, my list, itemized list there isn't a comprehensive list of everything that you need to start a business. It's just an example. So do your own research, make sure that you're doing your diligence on what it is that you need to set up your business. Okay. Properly, legally, effectively. And then go into your costs and have a look down and see what you can reduce, because I can almost guarantee that there is something on there. There's a price that can be changed. Okay. Now, like I said, that could be, £1,000 a month for social media management. Do you really need that? Okay. Probably not. So calculate your costs, make sure that you're being financially responsible, make sure that every part of the cost that you have in there is going towards something that you actually need, that will actually provide direct value to the business. For example, you don't need £1,000 worth of branded merchandise before you get started. Okay, it's unnecessary and is very unlikely to provide any benefit to you. Now, calculate intelligent methods of low-cost strategy. Okay, so calculate intelligent methods of low-cost strategy. Now, what does this mean? Okay, what is low-cost strategy? Okay, what is an intelligent method? Better yet. Okay, so an intelligent method is really thinking around these things. Well, how can I think outside the box? How can I do things differently to how everybody else has done it before? Okay, we're intelligent, we're unique, we're creative, but we need to be low cost. Okay. So what free things can we think of? What free things can we start off right off the bat? Okay. Or very, very low cost anyway. Do we need to pay £5,000 for a website? No. Okay, great. So that's reduced. Do we need to pay somebody £1,000 a month to run our social media for us? No. Great. Do we need to spend £5,000 a month on paid advertising? No. Okay, great. We can use organic social media. Okay, simple things. Do we need a big office building, or could we actually decide that working from home would be a more cost-effective way to start? Okay, calculate intelligent methods of low-cost strategy. Okay, marketing is a great example of this. You can market organically, you can do cool things, you can get flyers printed, you can take out ads in the local paper, you can do various forms of guerrilla marketing to catch people's eye, catch people's attention. Okay, calculate intelligent methods of low-cost strategy, and you will thank yourself down the line. You don't need to be spending before you have it. Okay. Now, if you're raking in the cash flow, by all means, be a bit more free with how you spend your money if that's what you want to do. But absolutely don't do that in the start, because it's not necessary, it's not needed. So here are a few options. Okay. We've got organic marketing, we've got low cost outsourcing, we've got educating yourself to do tasks yourself. Okay. Every expert began from zero in some form. Okay. Whether that was education, whether that was financially, whether that was experience. Every expert began from zero in some form. Okay. So organic marketing, first up, what is that? Okay. Organic is often free or very low cost forms of advertising and marketing your brand, such as, for example, free social media accounts. Okay. Going door to door, making phone calls, making cold calls, going into shops, businesses, telling them about yourself. This is all free stuff or very, very low cost. Number two, low cost outsourcing. Do you need some help? You need some help with admin. You want to free up more of your time. You can probably do that fairly cost effectively. Okay. Outsource certain things to make life easier for yourself, and also expand your reach, expand your capability to do more and be more for your clients and your customers. And finally, educate yourself to do tasks yourself. Okay. If you're paying someone to make graphics for you, go and educate yourself on how to do that and save yourself all that graphic design money. Or if you're paying somebody to run your social media for you, go and learn how to run your social media effectively. And again, save all that money. Okay. Doing stuff yourself in the offset is a very, very big way to save yourself lots and lots of money. Okay. So once again, thank you for the question. I'll grab that for you at the end. Okay. Once again, I'm going to pause now. Okay. And you go ahead, take down any notes, and indeed fire away with any questions that you have, and I will be right back with you. All righty, moving on to the third and final topic of today's conversation. Startups drain all of a person's time. I love this one. This is probably my favorite of the three. Okay, so I'm going to give you some tips, some ideas here to think about how we can make this not the case. All right, and I want you to challenge the things that you hear, around the world. Somebody tells you can't do it. Why? Challenge it. Think. Is it because they're not thinking creatively enough? Is it because they haven't thought of something? They haven't thought of a strategy or a way around this, or a workaround, or something else that can be done? Have they just accepted the fact that this is impossible? Have they just accepted their fate? And are you then taking their advice? Okay. Challenge things that you hear. It's good. It's healthy. Okay. And make sure that you give yourself the option to think freely. So first up, utilize good time management, and your startup can tie in nicely with your existing life. Okay. So if you work 9 to 5, if you work the back shift, you work the night shift, maybe you work sporadic shifts, whatever it is that you do, you've got kids, you've got a family. Okay. Utilize good time management. Nobody said that you had to do this overnight, even if you can only put aside 20 minutes a day. Okay. Your startup, as long as you take it seriously, can tie in very nicely with your existing life. Okay. If you've got a spare 20 minutes a day, that still racks up to over 3 hours a week. Okay. Or just under 3 hours a week. Yes, just over 2. So forgive my maths, but you've still got 2 hours a week there, which is 8 hours a month. Okay. Now that might not seem like much to many people, but if you truly dedicated yourself to doing something for 8 hours, okay, what could you get done? Now that's just 20 minutes a day. The chances are you can probably spare more. Could you wake up half an hour earlier? Or could you go to bed half an hour later? That's an hour a day. That's 7 hours a week. That's 28 hours a month. Okay. In every 4 weeks. That's an awful lot of time. All right. The thing is, most of us tell ourselves that we don't have the time. We don't spend that half an hour. And then we end up not moving any further forward. And we just say, well, I just haven't got any spare time. I haven't got the time. Could you pick up a business book for half an hour every night before bed? Probably could. You probably finish 2 a month. Okay. Utilize good time management. Look at your diary, look at your calendar. If you don't use one, I strongly encourage you to use one and find out where your spare time is. Catch yourself spending 4 or 5 hours in front of the TV. Just take one of those. Not asking you to give up the things that you enjoy. All I'm saying is Let's not say it's impossible when it isn't. Okay, so utilize good time management. Your startup can tie in nicely with your existing life. And that's what we want. We want it to be enjoyable. We want it to be easily achievable. Many startups are launched alongside full-time jobs and families. Okay, very rarely does a successful startup founder ever have all the spare time in the world, all the free time in the world. There are a couple of little minor sacrifices you might have to make, like watching less TV, staying up a little bit later, maybe working a little bit earlier, or working one day of the weekend, for example. Okay, but these startups are done this way, and essentially what's happening is you're giving up a little bit, just a little bit of your free time and your enjoyment now. But hey, like, what's to say that you wouldn't enjoy your business, right? For then virtually unlimited amounts of whatever you want when you have a business. You can take off much more significant amounts of time. You don't have anybody to answer to. If you're doing it well, you're making more money than you ever have before. That opens up a lot more doors, a lot more opportunity. Okay. Many startups are launched alongside full-time jobs and families. I don't want us to be in this misconception that, oh no, well, only people that start a startup are people that don't have families and have all the spare time in the world. They don't have jobs. They can just focus on that 24/7, because it's not true. Now, base your startup projections and expectations based on the amount of time that you can spare. All right. So this is a big one. This is something I want to, hammer home, because if you've got to spare 20 minutes a day, no, it's very unlikely that you're going to start to generate high level of cash flow immediately. And this is just being truthful with you. Okay. Now, if you're committing 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, you'll probably accelerate significantly faster than somebody who's committing 20 minutes or even 30 minutes a day. Now, that's not to say that one is better than the other. Different people have different responsibilities, different commitments. What matters is your perspective on success. How do you view success? What would you be happy with? Would you be happy with an extra £100 a month, an extra 500, an extra 1,000? Think about what it is that you want, and don't compare yourself to other people. Relativity here is so important. Okay, perspective. What is it that matters to you? What do you find to be important? Systemize, be efficient, and you will see your new business cost less of your time. Okay. Same as everything. Whenever we're learning a new skill, we can be a bit clunky. We're not doing things particularly effectively time-wise. So we might find ourselves, organizing meetings manually. I like to use this example. So you need to organize a meeting with someone, you're emailing back and forth, and you say, hey, when's good for you? And they say, hey, I don't know, when's good for you? Before you know it, you're 8 emails and half an hour later just to get one meeting organized. Simple solution: use a meeting booking platform and get that thing done in the snap of a finger. Okay, perfect. Saves you so much time, so much hassle. You put your availability on there and somebody else sees when they can match their availability with yours. Perfect example. So I'm going to leave you with topic number 3 there up on screen for a minute. Please do go ahead and jot down any notes and fire away with any final questions. And I will be right back with you for the recap and then for the Q&A. All right, perfect. So to recap on today's session, number 1, commit to education. You will learn. Experience will come with you. Education you must commit to. Number 2, practice frugality and be money conscious. Okay, it's absolutely something that you have to do ahead of time. Forecast your costs, look at reducing your costs, be conscious of your money. Okay, that phrase, mind your money, is perfect here. Okay, frugality is key when you can. And time management is your friend. Okay, use a diary, use a calendar, whatever works for you, but make sure you know when your spare time is, because that often can be part of the problem. All right, so as always, a massive thank you for attending today's session. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you. If you'd like to talk to a member of our team, you can head over to iob-business.com/talk-to-us. And you can go ahead and book a call at a time that suits you with us. Okay, so I'm going to leave this example of a calendar up on screen. This is what you'll see when you go to this link, and you can book in some time with us. Okay, so my questions from today. Awesome, I've got one in right now. The reason I haven't launched a startup yet is because I often find myself tired after work. Awesome, perfect. So cool bit of advice here. Figure out your most productive hours of the day. We all have them, okay? Some in the morning, some in other parts of the day. Maybe you're a bit of a night owl, maybe you're a morning person, maybe you feel good in the afternoon, okay? If you can do that and you can spare the time, do that, okay? So let's just say that your most productive hours are in the morning, but Monday, Friday, 9 to 5, you work in an office. Saturday morning, what are you doing? Can you wake up? Do you have the energy to do something on a Saturday morning? If you're a morning person, utilize this time. Like we said, it doesn't need to be 15 hours. Just half an hour, an hour. Make sure that you're dedicated to it. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that question. I love stuff like that. Number 2, a friend of mine since startups are costly and consumes all of their time. Cool. Well, the simple answer for you here, my friend, you are not your friend. Your startup management is completely at your discretion, as slowly or as quickly as you wish, okay? As cost effectively or non-cost effectively as you wish. It is your choice. And remember what we said there about challenging what we believe to be normal. Challenge that. You know, do you believe that? Do you believe that you could do it cheaper? Do you believe that you could take a little bit more time and build something, solid for yourself? Okay. Take time, find time in your diary. Don't allow it to consume all of your time, but make sure you're making steady progress. Keep whatever income you have now steady and secure so that you can take as much time as you need to build this startup and only put in it what you can afford to put in it. An amazing question. Thank you. And I really hope that helped. So I'm just going to check and see if we have any final questions. No. Okay, perfect. Well, as always, a massive thank you for taking the time to spend with us today. It's been a real pleasure, and I very much hope to see you again on the next iOB business webinar. Take care and bye for now.